Now, don't be jealous. I'm not on holiday. This is Rob O'Byrne from Logistics Bureau, and I'm sad to tell you this is where I live, in Sydney. I don't quite have a view like this, though. We've got glorious weather here today, and we're at the Harbour View Hotel in Sydney, where we've just finished one of our free seminars. We had some sensational discussion going on with some of our clients and industry colleagues there, and I thought I'd just share 2 or 3 of the key points with you, because it was really fascinating stuff. We talked about 2 main topics. One was how the sort of global economies are changing and some of the things that might impact our supply chain in the future. And then we talked more about getting our supply chain focused. Some of the economical things that we were talking about was how the shift of the centre of gravity of the global economy is moving. It used to be around the Middle East 1,000 years ago, then it moved to Europe during the Industrial Revolution, moved out to mid-Atlantic, and then over the last few decades we see that centre of gravity hurtling back towards Asia. And actually for us here in Australia, the centre of that economy in the future is going to be very much around China and India. And in fact, if you drew a circle of where more than half of the people in the world lived, it's north of us here in Australia, with really China as the centre. So we were talking about the impact of that on our businesses and how we're really quite lucky being on the periphery of that huge demand in the future. Although there was some things to be worried about as well, because we talked about the growth of gigacities. At the moment, about 50% of the world's population lives in what are known as gigacities, and these huge high-density cities. It'll be 80% by the year 2050. And we talked about how this high-density living in our city centres is going to make logistics and supply chains so much harder, trying to get into these narrow streets and so on in our cities, so many pedestrian-only areas now in some of these very large cities. And we talked about how in some places around the world, like Bangkok, and we heard from a guy in the Netherlands, where trucks are no longer allowed into the city centres. They have to cross-dock their product in hubs around the cities and then take the product into the city centres in smaller vehicles. And then during the second half of the session, we were talking about the need to get clarity and focus around the supply chain. And it's something that challenges a lot of people in supply chain management. And we talked about a couple of techniques of really understanding your customer needs and your stakeholder needs and getting everybody in the business focused on what you're really trying to achieve with your supply chain to make not only the supply chain more effective, but the business more effective as well. And I'll put a couple of links below this video to some blog posts and articles which will help you understand that much more. And then finally, we were talking about getting people engaged, not just with the right KPIs and the right performance measures, but connecting with them emotionally as well, to make sure that people really understood what we were trying to achieve in our businesses and supply chains. So for those who weren't able to come to the event, don't worry too much. I'll put some links below the video to the sort of information that we were talking about, and hopefully we'll see you at one of our events soon, and hopefully the weather will be like this.